at Tel Deir Allah. This is on the other side of the Jordan, as the Jabbok River meets the Jordan. And that was excavated just a few years ago. And in this Tel, they found what was actually an administration building for the Amorites. This is not the Israelites. This is the enemies of the Israelites. And it was covered with plaster that had fallen off. But on that plaster, they had written various stories. And down at the base of the wall, you see the broken plaster that they then could put together, written on with black and red ink. And so, like a jigsaw puzzle, they put this back together to see what the Amorites had to say. And there were a number of administrative details that they had, but as they put that together, they found, of all things, the story of Balaam the prophet. Again, not written by the Israelites, but by the enemies. And here is one line which says, "Warnings given by Balaam, the son of Beor, a seer of the God." A story of Balaam the prophet by the enemies of God. Numbers 22 says, "So he sent messengers to Balaam, the son of Beor, at Pethor, which is near the river. They saw what Israel had done to the Amorites." And here's what the Amorites had to say about it. Silver amulets that were rolled up, but they had inscriptions on them from the Bible. This is from Numbers chapter 6, verse 24. "The Lord bless you and keep you, and the Lord make his face to shine upon you." The priestly blessing was what the priest wore around their neck. They inscribed this on the pieces of silver, rolled it up, and wore it as an amulet. This is from Jeremiah's time, clearly identified from the pottery as well as from other cultural implications, and really not even contested by the liberals. Well, how did they inscribe so well on silver? In fact, we found with infrared technology in the last 2 years much more than what they originally found. Numbers 6, 24, 25, and 26 were very obvious. As we developed more technology, reported in the New York Times, by the way, just 2 years ago, almost the whole chapter of the context is engraved on the back of it. How did they do that? I think we get a hint from Jeremiah 17, where we read, "The sin of Judah is written down with an iron stylus with a diamond point. It is engraved on the tablet of their heart." Evidently, they were doing some engraving with diamonds at the end of an iron stylus. And so on this, you do have the text. Now, the significance we related to this morning when we're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, the documentary hypothesis says these books that comprise the earliest books supposedly written by Moses, the early writers, weren't written then at all, but written after the captivity. And this is what the documentary hypothesis is supposed to have proved. And we found then some of the Dead Sea Scrolls that were actual copies of the Paleo-Hebrew, which had to have been written prior to the exile, because that's the only time that style was used. Now, when they found the 300 BC copies, it wasn't from before the exile, but there were copies of what was before the exile. This was not a copy. This was written before the exile. This was 400 years older than the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it is precisely like the text that we have today. Identical. 2 renditions of it and almost a whole chapter on the back side. 400 years older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. That just says the people that have given their faith to the documentary hypothesis have made fools out of themselves as they tried to deny the Word of God.